Syria, a land still shaped by one of the world's largest displacement crises. Millions were forced to leave their homes.
I wish I could have stayed in Aleppo, but I had to leave for security concerns.
Following the recent fall of the Assad regime, tens of thousands of Syrians have begun to return home from abroad, hoping to rebuild their war-torn country.
The decision to return was a very tough one.
More than 14 million people have been forcibly displaced since the conflict began in 2011. Today, we bring you stories of hope and struggle of 3 Syrians who decided to return home after years in exile.
It's home now. This is our country, and the country of origin always wins. You're welcome, come in. Hiya home.
Fatima Zahraa spent nearly a decade in Germany with her family, having fled the violence that threatened her community in Aleppo. Her decision to return after the fall of the Assad regime was driven by a desire to give her children a home where she feels rooted both culturally and religiously. Her husband remains in Germany for work. They exchange a brief call each day just before she heads out to collect the children from school.
We were always the strangers in the neighborhood, and we often experienced harassment. The difference in customs, traditions, and principles. It all made things very difficult for us. Every day I drop the children at school, and I pick them up, although school buses are available. But I want to do it myself so they don't feel the change, since in Germany they didn't use the school bus.
In the backyard, turtle Shakira noticed the boys' arrival.
Before we left during the uprising, we had this turtle. My brother brought it, and he named it Shakira after the famous singer because Shakira's World Cup song was trending back then. The turtle is still here, and we're back home.
So it survived all these years on its own?
Yes, all alone. It really survived the war.
Fatima shows us traces of shrapnel and bombing that damaged her family home back in 2012. She says she's excited about working on the house, but also the rebuilding of the entire country.
After the wars, those who witness the renaissance of a country, they become more connected. Like in Germany and Japan, the people witnessed the rebuilding of their nations and became more patriotic. And this is what I want for me and my children, to go through the same experience.
Aleppo was once Syria's largest and most prosperous city. It became a central battleground in the country's civil war that erupted in 2011. Hundreds of thousands were killed, and tens of thousands remain missing. Years of intense fighting between opposition forces and government troops loyal to the dictator Bashar al-Assad devastated Aleppo. To this day, Aleppo's historic neighborhoods and much of its infrastructure lie in ruins. Amr Yakan, a lawyer from Aleppo, lived through much of that.
You're most welcome. There's no electricity, as is usual in Aleppo. Up here was a metallic tent with bricks. It was hit by a mortar and was destroyed along with parts of the wall and this door. We recently repaired it and made it back into a home.
Amr left Syria in 2013 to escape the Assad regime's persecution. His journey took him from Dubai to Turkey, then to Canada, where he built a new life with his wife and 2 children. Yet, deeply connected to his homeland, he felt a sense of duty to return.
It was a very courageous decision, I would say. It was a short while before I secured permanent residency and Canadian citizenship, but I let it go and came back. I can't describe how happy I am to be back to my loved ones and my country. This was an illusion, and I always wondered if I'll ever be back. I was desperate.
It's time for Amr's daily tour through the heart of Aleppo. The city lies in ruins, its infrastructure barely functioning. Yet, he says being here is what matters most.
People keep asking me, are you serious about your stay here? It makes me feel guilty. They keep saying you're crazy to go back in these times. They can't believe it. They make me feel as if I did something wrong. I know I can have a luxurious life abroad, but I won't be among my family and in my country. Look how these people are queuing outside the bank to receive their salaries. May God be with them.
Amr is visiting the mosque that his ancestors built nearly 300 years ago in the old city center. He tells us that his great-great-grandfather, Mohamad Yakan, was the ruler of Aleppo in the 18th century.
The mosque was built in 1728. It was hit by several bombs from the regime's side and was heavily damaged, but the family restored it. In there is the graveyard where my uncles and grandfathers are buried. And they ask, why did you return to Aleppo? My soul is here.
Amr says he has great memories in each corner of this ancient palace.
One day the shelling was very intense, and it hit a crescent fixed on one of the mosque's domes. So I grabbed it and ran for safety. It was made of copper, and it's nearly 300 years old. I took it with me in exile to Dubai, Istanbul, and Toronto, and now I brought it back with me. I kept it all this time and returned it to the mosque when I came back.
Aleppo is not the only city left in ruins. Nearly 14 years of conflict have brought widespread destruction to much of the country. The devastation is still clearly visible on the outskirts of the Syrian capital, Damascus, now home to Fadi Al-Khatib.
When I wake up in the morning, my first thoughts go to whether I'm in Damascus for real. I look through the window and ask if I'm here. I look at the phone, check the date. Is it correct or am I dreaming?
Fadi once fled the war in his hometown of Aleppo and moved to the opposition-held city of Idlib. But after losing his family in the devastating 2023 earthquake in Turkey and Syria, he moved to Britain, where he sought refuge.
I applied for asylum, but the regime fell halfway through the process. So it was time for me to go back and take part in rebuilding Syria. When you go through trauma, your dreams differ. My dream has changed. All I want now is to revive my brother's dream. I will not allow death to shatter his dream.
Fadi's brother, Yaman, was his role model. A prominent journalist and filmmaker who dedicated his life to shedding light on the atrocities and crises in Syria. Yaman's dream of creating cinema that reflected the suffering of his people went unfulfilled. Now Fadi is carrying that vision forward.
I'm on the way to the Yarmouk camp. I'm working on a story about school dropouts and child labor. To me, building Syria starts with building a new generation of educated children. Children should be at school and not in the workplace. It's not the environment for them. For my generation, it's very hard to rebuild Syria. We can only take a step, but it's the new generation that will build the country. And if they're uneducated, it won't work.
Syria is navigating a fragile transition after the fall of the Bashar al-Assad's regime in December 2024. A new interim government is attempting to rebuild state institutions, but the country continues to face a severe economic crisis, a volatile security situation, and social discontent. For returnees coming back after years in exile, it's a bold step, one that comes with many challenges.
I was very worried that the kids are coming from German schools and that they'd be very sad. But it's a power outage. Now we wait for the private generator. We are in the phase of power switch. Here in Aleppo, there's two sources of power, the state electricity and the private generators.
3 lives, 3 journeys, in 3 corners of a changing Syria.
I'm optimistic and I will do my best. Not only for me, but for my kids. I mean my future kids. And for my friends and family that I lost.
We started a revolution for this country. We didn't start it to leave it, to build a life in exile. Especially after it was liberated. We must engage in the rebuilding. It's a duty, and we must be up for it.
For Syria, I wish that we achieve the goals of the revolution. And for my family, I wish that we regroup and reconnect with this country. Because in Germany, no matter what we do, we will remain strangers.
Their stories, different yet intertwined, reflect shared hope and resilience. Despite fears and uncertainties, each one believes in the possibility of renewal.